Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready?
Run, Cookies! Run! Zipper's gonna get you! Zipper's gonna get you! Oh, somebody's outside. Look, they got a dog. See? You miss things if you're not always here.
Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Oh, rainy day here in Maine. I hope it's not that way where you're at. Not really cold, but just rain, you know. And I went and had some Cajun style salmon at Applebee's. Pretty good, pretty good. A little bit dry, but it was okay. It was great, you know. They like the seasoning they put on it, you know. Really tastes fine. And see, I had a Caesar salad with that, and had mashed potatoes with some special seasoning on that, and some broccoli, steamed broccoli, yeah, it was pretty good lunch. And you know, like I said, remember, I don't know if it was the last video or the video before, but still, things seem dead out there. I mean, I don't know. It's just, you know, Thursday, usually, you know, I went there at about 2:30, I guess, for lunch, because I was out doing chores. I had to take care of some things and make payments and stuff, and I had to put money on my debit card at Walmart, and yeah, just driving around, it just seemed like, you know, there wasn't a whole lot of activity anywhere, you know. Christ, it's like, well, half of Bangor must have just decided to up and leave. So I don't know, it just, you know, I've mentioned this to other people, and they're not really seeing it, you know, and I'm thinking, you know, okay, so I don't know if it's got anything to do with the, you know, our flailing economy right now, if it's just people just being cautious about their buying. That would be a first, you know, because most of the time I don't see people being cautious about anything. The only time I ever saw anybody being cautious was during the pandemic, and that was really the only time I ever saw people actually taking things serious. But you know, as far as you know, what's going on around, I mean, yeah, there's no big events happening right now. Probably not till maybe the end of April or beginning of May or something. I don't know. I don't keep up with concerts and stuff like that because I don't go to them, so I don't know when there'll be a concert around. But I don't know. You know, I figure during the summer, you know, things might get a little more picked up. But with Canadians not wanting to come down for their usual vacation time, you know, it's still going to feel dead, I suppose. So a lot of places are, you know, especially those tourist areas in Maine, are going to suffer big time here this year. I had to laugh. I mean, I got, you know, there's this person here. It goes by what's Maximus Dementis or whatever the hell the fucking name is. Watched one of my videos and must have commented about 15 times, and I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, what do? He just watched two seconds of a video of one of my videos, and then decided to pause, comment, watch 2 more seconds, then pause, comment. I'm thinking, boy, oh boy, this fellow here, whoever that is, has got a lot to say. Jesus, I mean, you know, I appreciate the fucking views, but goddamn, you know, why don't you just watch the whole thing first and then comment, you know, after. It makes it so much easier for the reader, you know. Jesus Christ, you know, I don't have time to write 10,000 different comments on 10,000 different comments, you know. Oh well, I don't know, everybody's weird, you know, in some fashion or another. So anyway, I got this interesting video here from it's from Anna from Ukraine, who's got a blog going, and she's in other formats as well, you know, like X and in other places. She's done a video here about I don't know if you remember, but Putin's car had exploded out in Russia, and you know, they're saying that it was a you know, a terrorist hit or whatever, you know, or Ukraine hit or something, and that kind of put Trump's plans for a ceasefire on hold because Putin's pissed. He wants to get even, and he ain't interested in no fucking ceasefire right now. So let's go to that video here, and we'll talk about that on the other side.
Hello guys, Putin and his doubles are scared to death because one of Putin's cars exploded next to an FSB office in Moscow. And not just an ordinary car, but Aurus Senat, the one that Putin used for his inauguration and various official events. What a powerful message. I believe right now the bodyguard of Putin, who carried one suitcase for the dictator's feces, I am sorry, now needs 2 suitcases because Putin is very, very frightened. And actually, during this week, the Ukrainian armed forces have sent a number of very powerful messages to the Kremlin. For example, we managed to target a military airbase in Angels and destroy 96 Russian missiles that they were preparing for the next 2 months. This is beautiful because lots of innocent lives saved and Russia demilitarized. That is the only working plan, taking into account that now even the Russian negotiators in Saudi Arabia confirm they do not want a ceasefire. And the German intelligence confirms that, stating that Russia is preparing for the war against NATO, and Baltic countries can be among the first under attack. So what can we do in this very turbulent time? We have to remain united and, of course, keep defeating and demilitarizing Russia. Let's discuss the most important events of this week, starting from the destruction of Putin's car. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you want to see Putin in The Hague or Putin in the hell, subscribe, we discuss all of that on the channel. Putin's car, Aurus Senat, the one that is associated with the Kremlin dictator, was destroyed tonight in Moscow. What makes it more symbolic and more meaningful is that it exploded next to an FSB office on Lubyanka Street. And those of you who love horror stories from the KGB past or from FSB know that Lubyanka is definitely a bad place. So just think about that. The car that the Russian president used for his inauguration and that is closely associated with the Kremlin goblin exploded next to the central office of FSB. Wow, Russia seems to be very weak, as all classical bull is totally unprepared to defend itself. And almost 1 million of Russian soldiers is waiting for their commander-in-chief, you know where, deep, deep, deep underground. Most importantly, this is a car that Putin used to demonstrate Russian strength, and that was one of his presents to Kim Jong-un. You know that North Korea right now is the closest ally of Russia, and I fully support that saying, tell me who your friend is and I'll tell you who you are. Unfortunately, these authoritarian regimes are really good at backing up each other And we still have lessons to learn. My support goes to people of Canada and of course to people of Denmark and Greenland as a part of Denmark. I did not like this visit of J.D. Vance, but it seems like J.D. Vance did not like the visit himself. And this week was a week of Ukrainian success because we have accomplished so far the best strike when targeted Angels military air base. Satellite images, intelligence, not just Ukrainian, but foreign intelligence confirm with this precise strike we have managed to destroy 96 Russian missiles. Angels military air base is located close to the front lines. It's strategic for Russia. They use it to terrorize Ukraine, to bomb Ukrainian territories, and this kind of arsenal that they have prepared, they could use for 2 months, and destroying it will save hundreds, if not thousands of Ukrainian lives, and that is beautiful. Share this video and subscribe if you're new, because we need your support, we need your understanding, and we need solidarity of the democratic world. So right now, it becomes more and more obvious, even to the President of the United States, Donald Trump, that Putin is not prepared for a ceasefire. He needs this pause, he needs these negotiations to break his political, his diplomatic isolation. Unfortunately, it has already happened because of unprofessionalism of Donald Trump, and the consequences can be really bad. Because it's obvious Russia continues to strike Ukraine, and it seems to me that after the start of the so-called negotiation process, the number of drone attacks grew and actually escalated. It's funny how they pretend not to notice that in the White House, but actually there are rumors that Trump is dissatisfied with such disrespect and humiliation on the Putin's side, and that he actually asked an amazing, one of my favorite presidents right now of Finland, can you trust Putin? I'm sure that the president of Finland gave the correct answer. Greetings to the beautiful members of community from Finland. And one of the representatives of the Russian negotiation group in Saudi Arabia, Karasin, confirmed that Russia is not prepared for a ceasefire and that they can consider one only in 2026. I believe that by 2026, Russian economy will collapse, of course, if sanctions are not lifted. And here my gratitude goes to the representatives of the EU countries who say they will not lift any sanctions. And even if Trump will be in doubt or will try to save Putin, he does not have all the necessary mechanisms, and that is important, especially taking into account that a number of foreign intelligence services, starting from the British and finishing with the German, confirm Russia is preparing for war against NATO by 2030. And my kind reminder, we live in 2025. 5 years, that's nothing. That is nothing. And no, that's not because you supported Ukraine. It's because Putin hates the West and he desperately needs wars for his regime security. He will not survive the next elections if there is no war, if he has to stop the military economy, and so many people right now are involved in the production of the instruments of war or can earn some money on the missions to kill and loot Ukrainians. So for Putin, this war is very important. He needs it to continue ruling Russia. And also because he believes that all of the internal Russian problems are not because of his bad management or some qualities of the Russian population, but because of the rotting West. And our task to prevent this war against NATO and to defeat and demilitarize Russia. Once again, no one in Ukraine wanted to become a soldier. no one wanted Ukraine to become a battlefield. Unfortunately, because of this Russian violence, because of our geographical position, we don't have a choice. But we have a choice to remain united and defeat this evil while still in Ukraine, not moving to Poland or the Baltics. Many countries feel that if this ceasefire begins, if no just peace is achieved, if there are no security guarantees for Ukraine and Putin actually receives a big green light, he will continue. And the Baltics may be the next place that Russia can attack. This Suwalki, corridor, I hope this will not happen. But if you want to be more prepared to war, subscribe to my new channel, where I share my experiences of blackouts, my experiences of having a go-to bag, this bug-out bag, that's important, and other things that you need to do before or right after the start of the attack. So subscribe to this channel, and it also means a lot personally to me because I share a lot of very emotional and personal stuff there, quite unexpectedly for myself too. What is good, there is statistics that Russia can actually expire by 2026, and the Ukrainian intelligence Budanov personally shared data that according to the internal Russian documents, papers that they keep to prognose the situation, they cannot afford the full-scale war for many years more. And actually by 2026, they want to solve the Ukrainian question. I think the best way to solve the Ukrainian question is to solve the Russian Federation question, and that is the dissolution of this bloody empire. Unfortunately, there is no other way to achieve lasting peace, defeat, demilitarization, and actually natural dissolution of this evil empire, the last empire agonizing in the 21st century. I think in the months to come, Putin will continue pretending that he wants to negotiate. Trump will continue pretending, hoping he can receive a Nobel Prize for being the weakest negotiator ever and a traitor of his allies and NATO. I feel it like that. And even this idea, the concept of the ceasefire is pretty funny because Russians want ceasefire on energy infrastructure because we are super successful in paralyzing the central for that dying economy, oil refining industry. And second, they are prepared for a ceasefire in the Black Sea. And a very important reminder, that's because we have destroyed the Russian Black Sea fleet. We have upgraded it to a scrap metal. And the leftovers escaped to Novorossiysk, which is a port in Russia, where all the Russian warship belong. I was surprised to read that New York Times claims the United States were very disappointed when they learned that Ukraine destroyed the warship Moskva. The one that brave Ukrainian defenders sent, really far away at the very beginning of the invasion. That was an amazing boost for our morale. It happened during the first days of the invasion, and oh my God, it meant a lot for me personally when they said, Russian warship, go yourself. And that's what we keep repeating to every Russian soldier, to every Russian tank, to every Russian commander, and of course to the Kremlin dictator. I think right now he's terrified, understanding that he is more vulnerable than he ever was, and not just from outside, from Ukraine, but also from inside, because his collapsing economy, his isolation, and also this diplomatic and political weakness of Trump, who even if chooses to fully support Russia, cannot make Ukraine or Europe surrender. And it may be that soon more and more mafia around Putin will want a regime change. And as a Ukrainian who knows the history, I can tell you this will not be a victory, because this will be just a substitution of one known bloody dictator with another one. But this turbulence, these changes can give us more opportunities to defeat and demilitarize Russia. And this defeat and demilitarization is very important for the liberation of the Russian population too, for the serious processes that must take place there if we don't want this like North Korea project multiplied by 100, because I don't know how many times Russia is larger than North Korea. But it is moving really quickly in the direction of this totally unrealistic totalitarian state. But I know they will fail because we are strong, and I'm very grateful for the spirit of the community that we have on the channel. If you're new, remember to subscribe and also follow me on X. I know it's a toxic place, but I'm fighting that, and the community is growing too. I'm also on the Blue Sky and I like it. You can find me on Instagram for more everyday life updates, and also on Threads, and of course in our amazing Discord community. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channel. Check our merch shop for lots of good items that work well as reminders and conversation starters about Ukraine, and we need that. Remember to share these videos and like these videos if you share my opinion. That is important. And thank you so much for standing with Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!
Well, as you can see, you know, things in between Ukraine and Russia are not conducive right now for a ceasefire. Both sides are still heavily engaged in this war. And Trump, I don't know why, you know, he's like trying to stop it, you know, because of his own selfish gains that he thinks he's going to get out of this by going into Ukraine. But you know something, I think, and this is just, you know, my opinion here, looking at this from the outside. Zelensky, after he went to the White House and was basically, you know, attacked by our dim-witted idiots that run the government now, I think he got in his head and said, you know what, I'm going to put the screws to this motherfucker. He wants a ceasefire. I'm going to do everything I can not to have that ceasefire happen. And it was shortly after that, after he went to England, okay, remember, and he met with them, but it was almost right after that when he went home, that bombing happened, okay, in Moscow, Putin's car. He knew that would incense Putin to continue the fight. That would put Trump's plans on hold. Trump wouldn't be able to do shit. You want to talk about who's got the cards? Okay, Zelensky had the cards because he knew how to play Putin. He knew how to get under that fucker's skin. Okay, and all of a sudden, whatever Putin and Trump had agreement, that put that on the back burner. We're gonna go back to war here. You know, they tried to kill me, and I'm going. You know, hey, there ain't no ceasefire talks now, are there? You haven't heard a goddamn thing about that. And said Trump come out, a few days ago and said, oh, Putin's not serious about a cease. He's trying to blame Putin for it. It's like, no, somebody tried to kill him, and now he's not interested in a ceasefire. He wants to escalate. That's what's going on. And Zelensky knew it. He knew this was going to put a monkey wrench in what Trump's idea was. He knew what Trump was up to when they were trying to fuck him over in the White House. He knew what that was all about. He wasn't stupid. People thought, oh, he doesn't know what he's doing. Bullshit, he doesn't know. He fucking knew how to turn around that whole situation for his advantage. Zelensky is not interested in making agreements with Russia, and Putin is not interested in making agreements with Zelensky. So there you have it. Trump, in his stupid way that everybody was trying to tell him this is not going to work, okay, tried to negotiate a ceasefire without Zelensky. That was his first mistake. Okay? His second mistake was to go in and bring Zelensky to the White House and treated him the way they did. Okay? That tied it right there. Zelensky knew that the only way I'm going to be able to deal with this motherfucker is behind his back, and that's exactly what he did. Okay? He had somebody go and bomb one of Putin's cars there that he rides in. I guess I don't know which one it is, but he wasn't in it. But the thing of it is that you know, that was a signal to say, you know, you ain't safe. You're not safe in your own land. You cannot even protect yourself from me. I don't have any reason at all to declare a ceasefire because I can get to you. This war goes on, okay? And Ukraine stands behind them. The war will go on. Nobody's interested in stopping this war, okay? The information coming out of Russia shows that their economy is in worse shape than ours, okay? And hey, people over there are getting angrier and angrier because if the cost of buying anything over there is like trying to buy a loaf of bread with a wheelbarrow full of money, okay? All right, it's getting that bad over there. The sanctions are hurting them big time. And so far, the United States hasn't yet, as far as I know, lifted any sanctions on Russia, okay? I don't know why that hasn't happened, since Trump seems to be interested in trying to do things with Putin. But as far as I know, they're all in place. And United Nations is not interested in lifting any sanctions that they've imposed on Putin, okay, and Russia. You see what I'm saying? Where is there any advantage here or any opportunity for a ceasefire? There isn't any. We're still into this thing, okay? This war is going on long, but no side feels like they're at a disadvantage here, even though it clearly shows that Russia's advantage, or at least their military strength, has been depleted. So his threats about, oh, I'm going to go after the EU, okay, that ain't going to happen. If he does that, he's definitely going to lose, okay? Because even without the United States back in Ukraine right now, Ukraine has done enough damage already to Russia, where if the EU steps in with Ukraine, that's it. Russia's gone. The only way they're going to be able to, the only thing they'll be able to do is a scorched earth, possibly, like, well, if I can't win, nobody's going to win, and he'll just launch whatever nukes they're still working, okay, and just destroy everything. All right, that's all he's got left. Okay, so Russia really doesn't have the advantage here. Militarily speaking, they're pretty well busted up. I mean, their soldiers are leaving, you know, defecting all the fucking time. Okay, they're trying to get help from other countries like North Korea, you know, to supplement their military. And you saw how that ended up, right? Okay, so Russia's, they're actually in a worse position than Ukraine. Okay, really, Ukraine seems to have the advantage because they're still getting support from other countries other than the United States. You know, we're not the only motherfuckers in the world that's got weapons. Okay, they can get their weapons from somebody else, and so they're doing pretty good. They're in Russia. Okay. They're holding on to territories in Russia, okay? As you know, Russia has some territories in Ukraine, so neither side has has the grounds yet to even consider stopping this fight, especially now after this attack, that went on there that scared the shit out of Putin here. So like I said, I feel like this is really telling, and people ask, well, why did that happen? Well, I think, like I said in that, my theory is that, this was Zelensky getting back at Trump. Zelensky don't want a ceasefire. Putin doesn't want a ceasefire, okay? And this talk, about, oh, well, we need to have your minerals and shit like that, okay, Zelensky's not interested in handing over anything to anybody that's from his country. It's his country. He's not going to let us go in there and rape it, okay? These people love their country more than we love ours, believe it or not, okay? And they'll fight to the last man. Ceasefire is not an option, okay? Ceasefire is not an option, and Zelensky's not going to let that go on, all right? So if Russia tries to take the country, what they're going to take is just, crap. There ain't going to be nothing there, okay? But like I said, it's Trump tried to play this very loosely and very sloppily. He played this, okay? I don't know where he got his advice from, okay? But I think because he surrounded himself with so many idiots, that nobody was giving him good sound advice. But if they did, I doubt he'd take it, because he's so arrogant and egotistical that he just wouldn't listen to it. You know, he thinks he knows everything. So he thinks, you know, well, I can work with Putin and do this and that, and we'll get the country. Now, Putin's not interested in that now. Not now. In fact, it's like Anna said, he's probably hiding in a fucking bunker somewhere 3 miles underground. Okay? He's scared to death because nobody's seen him, and you know, it's just he's scared because, you know, he took on a monster, you know, in this fight, thinking, oh, this is going to be an easy win. Boy, was he off. For a KGB agent, not knowing his shit, he couldn't have been that very good at his job when he was a KGB agent, because I'll tell you, he's done nothing but screw up one right after another since he started this fight. He never should have got into it. I bet you, and he would probably never admit it, that he would never had started this when he did. He'd have waited till he'd have beefed up his military first and then started but instead he took a dilapidated military that was, you know, picked over and scavenged and everything, old antique fucking shit from the 80s. Okay, half of it wasn't even working. He tried to take that bullshit fucking military he had with no troops really that were really, you know, equipped with anything. Everything they had was just kind of bought, that, you know, so he didn't really have a military, and he ended up grabbing prisoners, you know, criminals, to fill in the gaps. You know, you know, throughout history, I mean, I think you go all the way back to World War II, the same shit happened to them then. Okay, militarily speaking, they were weak. It was easy for Germany to get as far as they did in Russia because Russia had no opposition practically. They didn't have enough guns for the fucking soldiers they had. Okay, their equipment was all antiquated from like the First World War. You know, they had nothing, and to all these years later, they're still at it the same way. Okay, the only thing that people fear about that damn country is the fact that they have some nuclear weapons, and people are starting to have doubts that he has as many as he says he does, and that the ones that he has even work. Okay, that he's just out there rattling the sword to bring up fear. Okay, but he really can't deliver on that fear as much as people think he can. Okay, and I think there's a lot of truth to that, because hey, he doesn't pump money into the military. He's got people that have been screwing their own military over for profits. Okay, these people don't even have food. They have to steal the food wherever they go, you know, for their troops. I mean, imagine if our military was like that. Christ, you know. It's sad, but that's why a lot of those people have left, and I can't blame those Russian troops for wanting to just say, fuck this goddamn mess, I don't need it. Okay, goodbye. It's easy to lose your troops when you can't feed them, you can't arm them, you can't protect them. They're cold, they don't have any clothes for the winter, you know, for winter uniforms. And they're lawless because every village they go into, they try to rape all the women or kill the kids. I mean, it's a nasty fucking army. It's not an army at all. It's just a mob, okay? And the generals, some of them aren't even that loyal to Putin, okay? It's very insane that you know, Russia hasn't already fallen, really. Because Ukraine's more organized. They're getting more sophisticated weapons from the Western countries. You know, they're getting support. They're getting financing. They're getting what they need to continually, you know, beef up their militaries and stuff like that. And against the dilapidated Russian army, they almost have more of an advantage over them. I mean, it's only numbers alone that Russia has that makes it so difficult for Ukraine. But without those numbers, Russia would have lost this war 2-3 years ago. Okay? They'd be under Ukraine rule, for that matter. So, Russia is going to have no way to defend itself against the EU if they decide to jump into this thing and put a stop to this. Okay, Russia would be finished. There's no fucking way. The military of the other countries on that side of the globe there would just walk right over Russia, just like the Germans nearly did there in their fight. Okay, jeez. Putin would be out on his ear. They'd have a bullet in the back of his head there. That would have been the end of him. So, yeah. Anyway, that's kind of pretty much, you know, what I saw there in the video and got from that is that, you know, things right now are still pretty high, and as far as the fighting goes, and nobody's really interested in stopping it yet. So Trump, whatever Trump idea he had there for fucking Ukraine, I guess he's just going to have to sit on that for a time, because now ain't the time to be talking about minerals and mining Ukraine, strip mining Ukraine. It's not going to happen now. All right, let's go to a commercial break. We'll be right back.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Roxy Sugar, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
Remember the good old days when kids held jobs? When a work ethic was something we learned young? Before the left crippled us with regulations saying we can't do this and we can't do that. And when a salary was your real allowance. We got soft people, too soft and too woke.
Mister, can we get down now? Please.
That's why I am introducing the SWEAT Act, Small Workers Earning Adult Treasure. Thanks to Florida Republicans, kids can finally work like they used to. All those fun and undesirable low-wage jobs, they are open now. Smell that? That's the sweet smell of success. 10-hour shifts. Love it. No more bedtime. There's a shift to cover. It's time for kids to be domestics. Or how about all those good factory jobs abandoned by the Latins? Better yet, there are some DEI openings. Come on, parents. Motivate your kids to work.
I will psychologically torment you.
I'm thinking we'll make child labor nationwide. You would like that, wouldn't you? Sign the SWEAT Act petition today. Make kids work again. You missed a spot. I really hate that sad loser, Mr. Newberger.
Who, me?
Paid for by Governor Ron DeSantis and the Florida State Legislature.
You're gonna be okay. What happened?
I punched him. On accident.
I see. Let me have a listen real quick. Please take some deep breaths. Another one.
Doctor, is there something wrong with his leg?
Please stop.
No, I'm just wondering. Because you're touching it, and I thought maybe there's something wrong with it.
I didn't realize.
But why don't you take off his pants too? Finish him off.
Okay, I think we're done here.
can't get hard, not even with the blue pills. Will the salt trick work for me? All right, pay attention. If you're over 35 and not as firm as you should be, or if you're popping the champagne a little too early, I highly recommend the salt trick. In just 20 seconds, you can prepare this drink, and your anaconda will stand tall for hours almost immediately. This homemade salt tonic has been used for years by Brahmin bull breeders in India to help them stay firm and mate with up to 20 females at once. But a few years ago, this trick fell into the hands of the adult film industry, and since then, this little secret has been used by adult actors instead of the little blue pill. That's because it works in just minutes, flushing out flaccid toxins from your body that make your buddy shrink and fail when it matters most. It may sound crazy, but this drink is 6 times more powerful than any pill from the pharmacy, and because it's natural, it has no side effects. And if you haven't heard about it yet, it's the company behind the little blue pill, starting with P, that censors anyone who talks about this cheap, homemade solution. That way, they continue raking in billions every year from the suffering of millions of men just like you. But I'm putting an end to that right now. I'm releasing the short video that shows how to prepare and use the salt trick. Back then, this video was sold for $47, or they would have taken it down immediately. But so you can start the year off right. I'm leaving this video free for the next 3 hours. In the video, it shows step by step how to prepare this 20-second trick today and leave your wife with limp legs tonight. Just click the button that's appearing somewhere in this video to watch. If a page opens, it means the video is still available, and this might be your only chance to toss the little blue pill in the trash and learn how to make this homemade, safe recipe that's 6 times more powerful than the pharmacy pill. But I should warn you, this video contains some pretty hot scenes, and it also shows an African green tonic used by tribes in North Africa to grow their tool to the point of outgrowing all their underwear. Do not use if you're already too big or satisfied with your size, and also how to eliminate the flaccid toxins that are sabotaging your hardness and shrinking your little guy like a turtle. Watch with headphones on. As I mentioned, the video is uncensored and shows exactly how this trick works to make your buddy rock hard. So click the link below and watch while it's still available.
Hello, Daniel Caldwell. This is the VA Crisis Response Hotline. We're calling to inform you that your emergency request for in-person counseling for PTSD has been denied. To stop fraud, waste, and abuse, these services will be replaced by VetCare AI, powered by Grok, an X company. President Trump and Doge Chairman Musk, thank you for your service and being part of our efforts to eliminate waste. Have a nice day. Press 1 to repeat this message. Press 2 to return to main menu. Press 3 to leave a message, and an AI operator will call you back if your problem is deemed unwasteful. Goodbye.
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country. And some people don't. People start pollution. People can stop it. Write for Pollution Booklet, Box 1771, Radio City Station, New York.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime. loved it. It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Everybody, you know, if I had gone to college instead of the military and got into the sciences, okay, you know, and you know, got a degree or something like that, okay, I would think that you know, my job would be something that I would put some kind of integrity to. You know, I would not allow outsiders to interfere with what I should be able to do with my job. And what I'm getting at is how, you know, Donald Trump basically puts a guy like RFK Jr., you know, in charge of the health department or something like that, okay, where the guy has no fucking education in that at all. The only thing that you can link him to as far as that goes is his position on vaccines and stuff. He doesn't like them, all right? But that certainly doesn't mean that he's qualified to be in that job that he's sitting in right now, okay? So I would find that, as a scientist, to be really offensive. And I think a lot of you people would say, yeah, it's true. I mean, it would be offensive to have this person, you know, instead of like me, if I was the one with the... Why would you pick this clown over somebody who went to school and learned about shit like this, and not them sitting in that job? Even if they're not a politician, wouldn't you think they would be qualified? I mean, if I was hiring people for a job, that's what I would do, is I would hire people that would best suit that job, okay? Merit-based employment, you know, I guess is what they call it. You know, who's got the most merit to do the job would be the one you'd want. That's smart thinking, okay? But yet, there is a lady, a MAGA scientist, who voted for her own layoff. And that brings me to this other video here, and I think you're going to find this kind of goofy and a bit like, you know, you should have saw this coming. So let's go to that video here. We'll talk about that.
Hey there, folks. Hope you're doing well today. Today we find ourselves in Nebraska, and we'll be looking at a scientist from the FDA. Let's dive right in.
Your ability, knowledge, and skills do not fit the agency's current needs, and your performance has not been adequate.
Okay, so as you see, she's been impacted by DOGE and is part of the layoffs. And I mean, look, she looks like she's one of us. She has this, you know, science heart sticker and the microscope and E equals MC squared. There's no way a scientist would vote for Trump. He's trying to prevent science from happening. He doesn't want people to know about science. I would make a case that he wants to stop the spread of science.
Lindsay was fired from her job at the FDA, then temporarily reinstated by a court order. She's now on administrative leave.
And if you could imagine those ups and downs of the heartbreak of being fired and then temporarily being rehired and then being put on a freeze, just what an emotional roller coaster. You know, these people are serving our country and oftentimes taking a pay cut to do so.
Her performance reviews portray a top employee in a microbiology job affecting millions, approving tests for COVID, the flu, and other fast-moving and changing diseases.
Okay, so now we can understand why the Trump administration would want her out of the job, right? Again, because she's actually demonstrating things like COVID are real, right? So there's no way that a lady like this could vote for... No, you've got to be kidding me. What? Oh, dear God.
Like nearly 60% of Nebraska, she voted for Trump and initially was glad he won.
Oh, what the? Come on, where we go? Jesus, you got to be
What happened afterwards, though, is not something I expected. I did not expect there to be such a massive, quick, rash cut to the federal government. I really expected it to be logical.
Of course, right? This guy's very logical. Remember, he wanted to inject bleach. And you, a scientist, was like, man, this is my guy. This is the guy I want office. Or as a woman, where you're losing your rights, like you're like, yep, he's my guy. Or even as a federal worker, where he's like, yeah, we're gonna make giant cuts, and you're like, yep, he likes science. He's gonna keep me around. I mean, it could be worse. You know, you could be like a veteran after all the horrible things he said about veterans, like attacking war heroes like John McCain, or calling them suckers and losers. Oh, gee, you got to be, come on.
She and her husband are veterans and serve in the Army Reserves. They're also both federal employees, accepting multiple moves and lower pay as the price of public service.
Well, thank you for your service. I'm now gonna eat your face.
What would it mean if both of you all are riffed or terminated?
It means that we both will find new jobs. I think we'll bounce back. I can't say that about some other people I know. Like, we go to church with some other people that work for the USDA, and they're very worried.
And yes, these people have definitely voted against their own interests and deserve to have their faces eaten. But there's a bigger problem here, right? Both of these people are needed in our government, in our society, to help keep our society safe. Whether we're talking about this lady who works for the FDA or the people that work for the USDA that she was just describing, all of these people play a role. When you remove the guardrails, things get dangerous. And that's exactly what Trump wants.
Leopards are eating my face. Leopards are eating my face.
As a scientist, I think, I believe, and this is, my opinion on it, when you vote for some guy like Trump who lies and ignores facts, okay, and you support this guy, your diploma really is kind of like put in a shredder, isn't it? Your diploma means nothing. She's a scientist, and she voted for somebody who's anti-scientific, anti-facts, anti-truth, he's just anti, okay? How does she come to that? You know what I'm saying? How does she, during the campaign, he did make a lot of things, he's made a lot of statements in his campaign against, science and all that, and especially when he was president the first time, he didn't put much faith in science when it was during the pandemic. He was telling people to inject bleach into them and, whatever the fuck else he come up with. He was telling people some crazy crap, all right? And instead of putting that responsibility on somebody who knows what they're talking about, he took it on himself to just say it all on his own accord, okay? Like he's an authority on everything, which apparently... these days, a lot of people are finding out that he really has knowledge about nothing except what he wants, and that's it, But this lady here is the kind of person that if Trump didn't fire her or didn't get her laid off, I don't know which word you want to use here in this situation. If he hadn't have done that, if he didn't cost her fucking job, she'd vote for him again. Okay, and that's the scary part of it, is after everything that he said about scientists, okay, she believed the shit that he said, and she'd turn around and vote for him again if he hadn't cost her fucking job. Okay? And I figure that, college education doesn't create common sense. And my father used to say that a lot of times because he fixed TVs, VCRs, stuff like that back in the 80s. So he met a lot of customers, and a lot of customers from many walks of life. Some of them were even my school teachers that I had. Okay, but he also met people who worked at the University of Maine. All right, and he said, a couple of them, they were the dumbest people he ever met. Okay, because they'd just sitting there talking, and they're talking about their financial issues they're having and stuff, and and he's like, Jesus Christ, you're spending more than you earn, and because my father had a gift of being able to really get nosy into people's lives. I don't know why. I think he got that from his mother, my grandmother, because she was like that. She was in everybody's business in the neighborhood, but he was just like that. And these people would come over there. They'd bring something to be fixed, and they wouldn't leave for like an hour or 2 hours. They'd be in that fucking shop, and I'm thinking, what the hell are they doing in there? Are they fixing it together? It's like, no. He comes in the house, we all sit down for dinner, and he starts telling us, what that fucking guy was telling him. So, he's telling that to my mother. I was just a kid then, and my sister and I were just kids. But, I was listening, and all these things he was saying, and he'd always come up, the college-educated people have no common sense at all. And it's like, there's got to be some truth to that, when you look at a lady like this who is a scientist, and yet she can't even pick a goddamn political candidate that's worth his weight in gold. I mean, he's how can somebody make such a stupid thing? A stupid decision like that? How do they get to that? So you wonder. I mean, they say they're smart. Well, Christ, they can't be that smart. They might be smart in the job that they got, in the degree that they got, but in everything else, they fall short, big time. I had a friend here when I was in the service, a very smart guy. But you would think he wouldn't be doing the kind of work that I was, because we were all working in the same job. And I was thinking, this is beneath him. He should be working like in intelligence or something like that, not fucking bombs and stuff like, But no, that's what he was doing. But this guy, we were friends, but, sometimes he'd say things and, and I'm thinking, that's so off the wall, It just don't make any sense. And when he said, well, he's in there, he was trying to, get the GI Bill or whatever, so he can go to college. That's why he was there. I mean, he come from a poor family. But he did well in high school and all, very smart. Christ, math, Jesus, he knew all that fucking shit. But, yeah, I mean, and still, some of the simplest things in life, he just screws up at, And, there's a difference, I guess, between book smart and street smart. Experience counts for a lot in life. And these people, when they finish high school, they graduate, and they jump right into college, they kind of skip a little bit of that, developing street smart by, like, say, getting a job for a couple of years or something like that, just any job, before you go into college, or maybe just like joining the military or something for 4 years, 2 years or 4 years. I don't know if that's the same way now, but and getting a little bit of how to work around other people, skills, social skills. That's important when you're in the military, to be able to work as a group, and I think that's a very important skill to have. It was difficult for me to have that skill because I grew up as a loner, and I always liked to do things myself because I knew things would get done if I did it, and I didn't have to depend on anybody else to do one damn thing. So I got that from my father, but that's not the way you can do stuff in the military. That way, everything has to be done as a group, okay? Because you work as a team. So people, pick up that kind of experience around people, around how to work with others and stuff. But, you know, you kind of miss all that when you just jump right out of school and go right into another school, and you're still going, yeah. And then after that, you get, if you're lucky, you get a job that deals with the diploma you got, and you're into, you're doing a job, and then you're really kind of, as far as a scientist goes, it's a community of loners, I think, in a lot of ways. A lot of these people don't know how to work as a group, because so many of them are there. They never went through all these other things that I just said, and so they go from, you know, achieving things for themselves, and they're still doing it even in their jobs. So they don't have those skills. So, you know, that probably creates problems, I think, as they try to live their lives when they're not at work. Their lives are all messed up because they just don't know how to do the simplest thing, like, how do I register my card? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Some, you know, these everyday things that the rest of us just do, you know, because we know how to do. We take it for granted. But some of these smart people who never done that before, or, you know, or things like that, they just don't know, you know. So, you know, you got a lack of experience. Common sense would be hard to get, okay? But you would think when it comes to politics, you know, they would be smart enough to recognize, you know, a con artist over someone who, you know, is basically trying to be honest about what they want to do. I mean, it's just, I mean, it always seemed obvious to me who the best candidate was in every election in my lifetime. You know, who the one you can trust and who the one you can expect crap to come from. Okay, I think maybe this one time where I thought, you know, Ross Perot would have been a good president, but towards the end, I said, maybe not. Okay, maybe not. And so I chose Bill Clinton instead. Okay, but, you know, I've always been pretty good at picking out the bad ones. And Trump was an easy one. Okay, they couldn't have come any easier for me to pick. He was a bad one the first time. He was still a bad one the second time. And, you know, if we'd have got the other person the first time and the second time, I think our country would be sitting in a whole lot better catbird seat here than we are today. We'd be doing a lot better. And I think the rest of the world would probably be doing a lot better too, because we're doing well. You know, usually when the United States is doing good, the other allied countries are too. But if we're falling apart, you're going to see the same things happening like in Canada, in England. Okay, they're going to be having hard times too. No matter what they do, what tariffs and all that shit. Okay, all that aside, they're still going to suffer. Okay, they know this, and you know, things aren't going to be very strong, economically speaking. So, you know, it's important that, you know, we have the intelligence, the common sense, learning from things that's happened when we go into voting for politicians to pick the right candidates, you know. And certainly Trump was a fucking, it was on a silver platter, like, hey, this is, you know, you know, even if you weren't smart, even if you were like still in high school, you should have known that this guy was a bad cat. Because, hey, we already had 4 years with that motherfucker, okay? And look what he did to the country, okay? So it was almost like, hey, there is only one candidate, Kamala Harris, okay? The other guy is a joke. You shouldn't even consider him a candidate because he's not even going to be in there for you if he gets in there, okay? He's all in there for himself, and we said that then, and it's still happening just as we said it would, okay? So, you know, people out there can think what they want about, oh, Democrats don't know nothing. Yeah, well, you know what? You can say that to your grave, because everything that we said that Trump was going to do, he's been doing. Every goddamn thing, okay? And you know, and a lot of you people out there already know this. That's why a lot of people in MAGA have, you know, tossed their hats, burned their flags, okay? Said they were duped, they were fooled, they just pissed off at them. They wouldn't be saying that if we were wrong. They wouldn't be saying that if we were wrong. But they knew that they fucked up when they voted for him. That's all the proof I need to hear. That shows that, you know, the Democrats had it right, and you guys got sold up the river without a paddle. Okay. No, there's no doubt about who was smarter in this last election. But this scientist you would expect better from. Okay, really. And it's sad that that things like this happen, but they do. So it doesn't matter how smart someone may be or how many fucking degrees that they have and certificates. Okay, they're still just human beings in the end of the day, and they still make dumb mistakes. And I can't feel much sympathy for this woman. I really can't. There's no excuse that I can imagine, unless somebody put a gun to her head and made her go in there and vote for Trump. No fucking excuse that I can imagine that would justify what she did. And now that she's, she's working, but she's on administrative leave, in other words, okay, so there's still, you're not going to get your way anyway. The fact that she is in the position she deserved it. She earned it. Her choices made this happen. Okay, elections have consequences. And look how fast those consequences came about with Trump. Okay, practically overnight. In 3 fucking months, he's upended this country. 3 months. No other president in U.S. history has ever been able to create that kind of change that fast in this country. Okay? The reason being is because other presidents in the past never would do it through executive orders the way he did. Okay? Which is totally illegal by the way. It's totally illegal. Okay? He's overriding the Constitution. He's going over the heads of Congress and the Senate. Okay? What he's doing is he's just, saying, fuck them, we don't need them, I'm just doing it all on my own, and everyone's going to go along with it, or else. Okay? Basically. Under threat. And that's what he's doing. Okay? The MAGA might see that as a positive, but they totally don't see that in the right way. They're looking at it backwards. That's not a positive. Anyone else would say Trump is burying himself right now. Every executive order he makes is going to be one more nail in his coffin. Every single one. Because if things happen in the primaries, okay, if the Democrats gain control of them houses back in the primaries, all those nails are going to be in their bags. Okay? Trump's, executive orders, they'll be able to try to put a stop to that. Okay? And that, I would say at that point, then they would have the numbers they need to begin impeachment with him. And every single one of those executive orders are going to be brought up as evidence, as proof of his inability to be president. Okay? That's what I'm saying. And I'm, like I said, it's just, it's not a positive. Not for MAGA. Oh, they might feel like they're getting everything they want. And everything they didn't want. Okay? But still at the end, his zeal here, Trump's zeal to get all these things passed, or just, not passed, simply just written into being, is going to be his undoing. All right? That's what's going to happen to him. So, yeah, it might take time, and we're going to have to wait until we have the chance to do the vote, okay, to give the power back to the Democrats again, because we certainly got to have checks and balances in place, okay, for any president, whether it's a Democrat president or a Republican president or an independent president. We have to have checks and balances. Without that, this is what you create right here. When you give all the power to one party, this is what happens. Okay? Especially when, the other side is very committed to doing what the people don't want. Okay? And try as you might to prove that, oh, yeah, the people wanted this. The numbers just don't show it. It doesn't matter what people think of Congress and or the Democrats right now. That's because they're not in the majority in the houses. They can't do anything. That's why their approval numbers are so low. However, that may change after the midterms, okay? when they get control back, if they get the control back and they start pushing back on Trump, then their approval numbers will start to go up, because then they'd actually be doing what the people want. All right, but right now, okay, all they can do is go around and give speeches and rally the grass movement, get it going, get people together, so that way the numbers will be there for the midterms. That's all they can do right now. But of course, yeah, their approval numbers are low because everybody's mad that, you know, they want to see the Democrats fight now, but it may not be prudent at this point to push back hard, because they don't have the majority in any of the houses. In fact, they don't control anything. You know, the Republicans control all branches of the government right now. You see? So, you know, you have to think about that. It's not such, you know, these issues are not black and white. There's nuance in everything here with this. And you have to understand the nuances in order to get a clear picture of what's going on. And to think that, oh, well, the approval numbers of the Democrats are low, that means that people don't like them. No, that's not what it's saying. It means people are mad right now that the Democrats are not pushing back hard enough, you know, for their cause. People want to see the Democrats fighting back because they don't like what Trump's doing. That's why his approval numbers are so fucking low right now, because nobody likes him, and they're still dropping, by the way, in case you didn't know. They're still dropping. But they want to see the Democrats hit him back hard. That's what they want. Okay, but the Chuck Schumers, the Nancy Pelosi's, okay, the Hakeem Jeffries, these people are not fighting back hard enough. Those are the party leaders here, okay? And people are saying, who are they rallying to right now? AOC, Bernie Sanders, they're the ones that are out there vocalizing what the anger that people are feeling right now. They're the ones that are popular. They're the ones that are out there trying to make an effort to fight back as hard as the voters want them to. Okay, that's what's going on. All right. So I don't know how to explain that any better for some of you out there, but that's what's going on, and it's at some point it will deliver, and I think during the the midterms we'll see that. Because, you know, Trump's not going to stop what he's doing. You know that. He's too stupid to stop. He's going to keep pushing the envelope and making things worse and worse as time goes on. We're going to be into next year, and he's still going to be doing the same shit. Meantime, his party is going to be like, will you stop this shit? You're killing us. All these Republicans are going to be trying to campaign for their seats back, and they're not going to be able to get it. Because his big fucking mouth and his stupidity is burying everybody else. Okay, they're already feeling it at the town halls. That's why Republicans aren't going to their own town halls right now, is because they're being shouted out of there by their own fucking voters. Okay, these people are angry as hell, and we're only 3 months into this presidency. What do you think's going to be like next year this time? Think about that. You think the American people like Trump more than the Democrats? Christ, he can't even keep his own party behind him. He's losing supporters every fucking day. He's hemorrhaging them. Christ, he's hurting them as well. Some of the fucking people he deported were Trump supporters. Not that I'm sad that they're gone, but hey, when you create a fucking action that's more of a sledgehammer than a scalpel, this is what you get. This is what you get. Jesus. You know? Everybody knew last year that these things, Project 2025, all this stuff was going to blow up in his face if he tries to enact half of that shit. Okay? Because it would affect everybody across the fucking political spectrum in America. Everybody. Nobody would be spared. And by God, it isn't. It's sparing nobody. But Trump, do you think he cares? No. He's only interested in seeing that these things happen. Okay? And shoving it down our throats. He's even got Musk out there saying much the same thing. And you know what? Neither one of them fucking idiots gives two shits about what happens to this country. They only care about what happens to them. You know? America's not Musk's country. You know? He's not native here to this country. What the hell does he care? right? He watches the country fall, just pick up and move somewhere else, okay? That's what he'll do. Same thing with Trump. Country falls, he'll pick up and move somewhere else. Doesn't fucking matter at all. I mean, it's just like the governor we had here in Maine, Paul LePage. Okay? That fucking guy, when he lost a governorship because of the shitty job he did in the state, what did he do? He up and moved to Florida. Then he tried to come back a few years later and run for the state. He lost by a fucking landslide. Okay? You know, Mills beat his ass all over the fucking place. Okay? And he went back to Florida. Same thing. They don't care. You know, he come to the state. What skin did he have in the game in the state of Maine? That he moved his life to Florida. Why did he come back here? He wanted to come back here just to be a prick for another 6 years. Okay, that was it. He had no real plans about doing anything for this state except to fuck it over all the more, just like he did before. And everybody in this state knew it. Okay, everybody in this state saw him for what he is, a fucking carpetbagger that really, he never should have fucking been governor the first time. He already proved how incompetent he was. And I was hoping that people would have learned from Trump in much the same way. That, this guy fucked up the job so fucking bad the first time, there should be no way in hell that he ever would get back in the White House. Ever. People often can be depended on to make the worst choices imaginable, and history has proven that to be true. All right, that's it for today. So I hope everybody has a great upcoming weekend, because tomorrow's Friday. So subscribe, comment, and share, and keep your ears open for health-related issues. And I hope everybody is learning about, being a community and helping each other out and trying to do stuff out there to help people, because it matters. So I'll talk to you all later. Take care.